welcome back to another episode of Love Code on YouTube. I'm glad that you're joining me today. As always, if today is the first time that you're joining us, you go ahead and subscribe so that you don't miss a thing from here on. Today, I want to talk about long distance relationships. Now, if you know me and you know this channel at all, you know that long distance relationship is something that is very dear to me. I experienced this firsthand. I was in a long distance relationship that eventually led to marriage, but it's not always that way for a lot of people that find themselves in long distance relationships. And I'm also one to say that even though long distance relationships are extremely challenging, and this is the way I say it, that I would not wish long distance relationship for my enemy, right? It's that serious. Now, even though it is challenging, it's not all doom and gloom, okay? It's not all doom and gloom. There is some positives, and I believe I've done a video about that before, right? There's some positive aspects of long distance relationships. Still, if you can avoid it, I would always advise that you avoid long distance relationships if you can. Having said that, it's important to know that the age that we live in is the internet age, and more people are meeting these days on the internet, right, than people actually meeting physically, And when you meet somebody on the internet like that, it is very possible. In fact, the chances now become so much higher that you will be meeting somebody that is from another geographical space, a different location from where you are, right? And you cannot deny people that, because it's just a possibility that happens when you come on the internet. You can meet somebody from anywhere at all, right? So when that happens, people still have to be able to make it work, but you have to bear in mind the disadvantages, the challenges that are going to come along with being in a long distance relationship. Now, the first major one is trust. Trust is a big one, because long distance relationships affect your trust level, especially if you already have trust issues. Long distance relationships become extremely challenging if you are somebody that already has issues with trusting people, right? But on the flip side, it can also teach you how to trust someone, right? But let's just focus on the challenges for today, and that is that that trust level is just a problem for many people, because you can't see behind the scenes. You can't see what the person is doing, right? That is a major disadvantage. So when you can't see that, it doesn't give you the complete picture. Just like you're watching this video right now, you don't know how this video came about. You just see me in this picture. You don't really know what is behind. So you only take what you see. You don't know what is around me. You don't know what my setup looks like, and what I'm doing here. So when that is a relationship that is supposed to lead to marriage, then it becomes a challenge, because as it is a YouTube platform that you're watching, you can deal with that. Just take whatever you get every week, right? But when it's a relationship, you want a little bit more than that. You want to know the person. You want to see what the person does, how they do what they do, which poses the challenge of being open and honest. When you're in a long distance relationship, you have to be extremely open and honest if you want to make it work. You have to be deliberate about your talking. You have to talk more, and you have to listen more when you're in a long distance relationship. This is something that is extremely crucial, because when you see the person from time to time, if you're in the same environment, you can save some things for later when you see the person, or you can talk about it, and the pressure is not as high when you know that you are not in a long distance relationship, right? But in a long distance relationship, you can't afford to bottle things up. You must be able to send out things, and text messaging, emails. Thank God for FaceTime and all of these platforms these days. It's a lot easier. When I was in my relationship, Skype was the thing, but it was a big challenge, So it's not as nowadays it's even easier. Especially with FaceTime, right? But here's the thing: when you start to do a lot of emailing and texting, you kind of get used to that, and it becomes a challenge also even after you get married, right? These days, I still find myself sending a lot of text, which is okay. But when you start to send emails, like there's sometimes where my wife and I want to talk about something, we'll send emails, and I'll say, oh God, this thing is from this long distance relationship, and we have to now come together and say, okay, let's talk about this, and not just be doing email. Email would help you to conceptualize it, articulate it in your own mind, and express it to the person in a way that you think is presentable. But for a marriage situation, you must be able to sit with each other and talk about things. You must be able to confront your partner, get feedback, watch their body language, watch their expressions. When you say something, watch their reactions. Those are all the things you don't get from long distance relationships, because you can only get whatever the person decides to show you. It feels staged. It feels like you only see what they want you to see per time, right? And you don't know what could be going on behind the camera, right? And when you start asking questions like, show me everything, it now becomes like you're suspecting the person, which goes back to the issue of trust. So most of the challenges around long distance relationships are usually challenges around trust. Around, can I trust what I'm getting? Can I trust this person? Is this all there is to it? Is this person being honest with me? Is this person showing me everything that I need to know? Is this person telling me everything that I need to know, right? So those are all the different challenges that long distance relationship pose. So if you're planning on going into a long distance relationship, these are the things that you need to think about. Can you handle that? Do you have that much tolerance? Is your trust level, is it moderate enough? Are you comfortable with not having control, as it were, over the circumstances, over what is going on? Especially if you are in a different time zone, that is a completely different challenge on its own. Where somebody is in the morning where they are, and then you are at night, which was my own scenario. It's another level of challenge altogether, and it can frustrate you. It can play on your mind, in a way that is very, very challenging. That's why you see that most times long distance relationships like that, they go through phases where they have, in fact, at the point you won't even know whether you're in a relationship or you are not. Right, so it's that way, but you can actually come out of it and end up getting married and be happy in your marriage. But you must bear all of these things in mind if you're planning to. If you can avoid it, like I said, avoid it. But if you can't, you just know what the disadvantages are and know how to confront it, and hopefully it works out for you as well. The other thing about a long distance relationship is that there's usually not enough room for conflict. Now, that might sound like a good thing, but it's not good. When you are in a courtship, you need conflict. Conflict is not always a bad thing. Too much conflict is what is bad. Now, conflicts are the things that show you the areas where you guys have differences, where you need to work on. So you need those. But because long distance relationships, the talk and the communication in a long distance relationship mostly feels staged. So it's really, really hard to get into conflicting situations. When you have conflict, you're having conflict over silly things, over trivial things, because you have things bottled up. The real issue is not what has annoyed you, seemingly annoyed you, but it is the bottling up of I don't even know what's going on. I don't even know what you are doing. What were you doing yesterday when you weren't answering the phone? Where were you? You said you were going to call at 3 o'clock. You didn't call until 4. What was going on? But you don't want to ask those questions, so you bottle them up. Right, and then the person does something else that is just trivial, right, and simple thing, but you flare up with that. So those are the things that happen in long distance relationships. But you need some kind of conflict that is healthy. That's why you see when people are in a long distance relationship and they now get a chance to meet, right, and they have conflict, they are surprised. Like it's almost like a shock to them, right? Because they have been in this bubble where they feel like everything is nice. This person is the best thing that ever happened to me. This person is so, you see people will literally be presenting a side of their face that they know that, looks presentable on camera, and that's the only thing they show the person. And then when the person eventually sees them physically, they're like, what? This person looks completely different. You cannot know enough about somebody from a distance. It's very difficult to know enough about somebody that you don't spend enough time with, and that's a reality that you're going to have to deal with. If you're going into a long distance relationship, you're going to have to become very deliberate and intentional about your dating after you come out of that phase of long distance relationship. You have to now, almost like you're starting afresh, where you have to create a period of time where you get to know this person better, and put yourselves in scenarios that would help you to accelerate the knowledge that you have of this person. Right, because in a long distance relationship, it's very difficult to understand somebody fully, to know some of the things that are important. It's very difficult. It's not as easy. So that's a major disadvantage of long distance relationship. And then there's just the anxiety, that anxiety of waiting to meet somebody. It's nerve-wracking sometimes. Sometimes there's an element of it that is quite exciting, especially when it's the time when you want to meet the person. But when you are about to leave, let's say you fly to a new country, to see this person, and the time when you are about to meet the person is so exciting, especially when you now finally meet the person. You don't know whether to hug yourselves, or you don't know, just that awkwardness that comes with a tint of excitement. But on the reverse, when it's time to depart and to leave again, and you know that you're not going to see this person for months again, you start to, sometimes you even cry. And it's that, blend of emotions and anxiety that it just makes the whole thing extremely difficult and very, very challenging for a lot of people. So not everybody will be able to do long distance relationships. There are people that I know who just right off the bat just tell you, you know what, this is not for me, right? But there's some people who can handle it if you are able to just understand what the requirements are, the challenges you're going to face, and be prepared to deal with those challenges. In a long distance relationship, it's extremely difficult to express yourself the way you really want to, because there's no face-to-face connection. So expressing yourself becomes challenging. Even after you get married, you still find those challenges there, where you want to hide behind a camera or a computer screen to express yourself. But you have to be able to face the person that you're in a relationship with, or that you're married to, and talk to the person, and ask questions and get feedback, look into the person's eyes, right? And that becomes a challenge for people after they are married. Even if they go through the long distance phase, and they're able to get out of it, it becomes a challenge for them to get over that. So my advice really to people when they want to go into long distance relationship is always very simple. You need to know what you're getting into. This is going to demand a lot from you. It's going to need a lot of communication, and by that I don't mean it in the cliche way. I mean a lot of talking and a lot of listening, a lot of active listening, a lot of active talking, where you are expressing yourself, you're expressing your desires, you're sharing your heart, you're talking about your dreams, you're talking about how you feel at the moment, how you felt yesterday. You're talking about the things that you're thinking part-time. You're not leaving things unsaid. You get off a phone conversation with somebody, something your spouse needs to know about, you say it right away. You are being deliberate about it. And when you get out of that phase, you now become intentional about your dating, where you plan it if you need to, and just to make sure that you're giving yourself time to get to know this person better, and to develop your relationship with your partner. Okay, so that will be all for today. I hope that you gain one or two things from that. Like I said, long distance relationships are not all doom and gloom. They have their good sides. If you understand what it requires, you can do it successfully. But you need to understand what the challenges are. It is very challenging, as you can see, but it's not impossible to overcome. All right. Thank you very much for watching the video this week. Like the video if you do, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you turn on your notifications so that you know when I have a new video out. I usually have new videos out on Sundays at 6 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. I have a new video out then. Until I see you again next week, God bless you.